Welcome back to Worst Seats in the House. Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta coming to you on a absolutely gorgeous, not very smoky day in the Twin Cities here at Elsie's. Thanks for everybody coming on out. Our next live show will be in August. I believe we have to come up with that date and site. Just came to me that we have to do that. Are you in town in August?
I'll be around.
Okay. I'm barely in town in August, so we'll for once go around my schedule.
Around your schedule?
Yeah, rather than yours.
It's always around your schedule.
By the way, so I don't know. I didn't listen to the last podcast, the end, so I don't know how Alex edited the end when we lost you, Anthony. But apparently your computer died and you couldn't find the charger anywhere. So I was convinced you left it on the plane or in Italy or something like that. Tell everybody what happened.
Well, my computer did die right toward the end.
We never saw him again.
Yeah, I sent a text. I said, hey, my computer says it's dying. And it went from, you might want to plug in your computer to off in like 45 seconds. Perhaps a longer warning would be a good idea in the future. But when we were on our trip to Italy and France, we had our girls stayed at our house, take care of our dogs. And apparently one of them took the computer charger. So I'm running around the house trying to find it, thinking these guys are waiting for me to come back to finish the pod, which they gave up after about 8 seconds and just said, that's enough. We'll do without him. But it was later that night, I finally just sent a text to our family and said, did somebody take a computer charger? Because I've gone through every cupboard in the house. I just assumed it was Margot's fault because it usually is. She just puts stuff in random places when I leave it out. But I texted and Ariana responded with, oh, yeah, I took it. I thought it was Landon. So I don't have a computer. I still don't have a charger, so I can't get a lot of work done right now.
Yeah.
So I figured I just have to golf.
Yeah, exactly, which you look like you've been golfing since we've
I
been
played
back from
today,
Europe.
actually, in the 3M Pro-Am today.
Nice.
Yeah, my team was not very good. I think we finished 16th out of 22. I think Larry Fitzgerald's team might have won. His team and Adam Thielen's team were both in the hunt, I know. Ryan Carter had a team that I think finished in the top 10. My team did not, but it was good.
Whose fault was it?
I was certainly a part of it. I think they were depending on me to do more than I did.
Yeah.
But I played with two guys that were from Asia that I'm sure were thrilled when they saw that I was the guy in their group when they arrived.
Yep.
And when the group in front of me on our hole had Larry Fitzgerald, the group in the hole behind me had Paul Molitor and Rich Gannon.
Wow.
So and they got Anthony LaPanta.
Wow. That is crazy. Did you watch any of that? I think we were in Europe at the time, but was it the ACC championship? Is that what it is out in Colorado?
American Century or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Out in Tahoe, right?
Yep.
And Matt Boldy, big part of it.
I think he finished
with the
10th.
Chucks.
Yeah, he was. I think Boldy finished 10th.
Podolsky won.
Yeah, Marty Fish, I know, is always in the hunt. I think he was in the hunt again. But yeah, it's always kind of a fun tournament. I love watching those kind of tournaments because those guys are all way better golfers than I am, but it's fun to watch guys that are good golfers but wind up in some of the places that you wind up when you're playing rather than just down the middle all day.
Matt had an unbelievable save where he hit it into the stands essentially. And,
had to hit it off the deck.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty cool. So we do have a crazy packed house, more than we get in a regular season here today at Elsie's, which is a good thing because nothing is going on with the Wild right now. So it is up to you to run this show, ask questions, or we're going to be wrapping up in about 1 minute. So because we got nothing.
I got a lot of stuff, but there's going to be Wild news tomorrow.
Yes.
And that I can't say a lot about it other than it's broadcast related. It's not.
By the time this podcast is out, it'll be out.
Yeah.
So maybe we tell people here and we just sign it, have everybody sign an NDA.
Yeah, this could be like the NDA we sign on our trips, that your presence here indicates that you accept the NDA and nothing can be repeated. But the Wild are going to announce tomorrow their TV crew. We still don't have all the details of the broadcast, where they're going to be and everything, but it's going to be released tomorrow on social media, and I think through some other stuff.
Yeah.
But it'll be good. It's exciting, and I'm excited to officially be back and be a part of it. So that's great news.
I was excited because otherwise Joe O'Donnell is going to be taking over as my co-host of this podcast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I guess you're back, Anthony. One more year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good. And I think the setup it's going to end up being great for Wild fans, but they just don't have all the details done yet on where the games will be found, any of that kind of stuff. And there's still there's going to be a streaming element to it. That's not complete yet either. So somehow, some way, you're going to be able to watch the Wild on a linear outlet, likely some games over the air, and have a streaming option if you don't have a subscription to DirecTV or Comcast or whatever else. But it's just there's so many details that have to be worked out for that, but we're getting down to it. We're 2 months away from a preseason broadcast, and they still have got details to work out. But there will be a release tomorrow on the on-air people anyway, so that'll be fun.
And I think they're very close to announcing the over-the-air partners. And then they're going to do that one by one. As things are finalized, I think they're going to start announcing that. They don't know how many games are going to be on over the air, but at a minimum, 70-ish games will be the ones that aren't taken by the national.
We expect that we'll lose the max to national TV like we always do, and because of great fans like you guys, we have some of the highest local ratings in the league. So every year we lose the maximum games to national TV. The team being competitive also plays a part in that, but the local ratings are a huge reason why you see the same teams on national TV, the max, or like last year they even took more than the max. So we had a couple games where we worked side by side with a national broadcast. And we fully expect we'll lose 15 again to national TV, but we'll have the rest.
Right. So 69, 70. And then the one thing I learned the last couple of days is that Minnesota and St. Louis had the two highest direct-to-consumer streaming in the National Hockey League this year. So it also feels like people here are kind of getting used to that new world of, eventually everything it feels like is going to be streaming.
Yeah, it's some of those numbers are, I don't know exactly how they come up with it, because Dallas, for example, they were only available on a stream.
Yeah, so how would you have more?
Right, and they had, I think it was, I don't remember exactly. I saw some of those same numbers, and when there's nobody if like you call FanDuel World Headquarters, there's nobody there anymore, so I couldn't get an answer to it. But during the season when they did still exist, I'd ask the question sometimes, and the answers were so convoluted with like how they counted these people and who counted as a unique viewer and who didn't. I don't. But bottom line is our numbers were really good, and we have some of the most dedicated viewers in the NHL. And almost every year, the Wild, the Blues, the Penguins and the Flyers are always up there in terms of local TV numbers, and it's a great problem to have because we lose games because of it. But
yeah, that's a good point. You got a question? We're going to start off. Let's go. By the way, there is. I mean, we haven't. Yeah, you need a ladder.
We've got sweatshirts just in case anybody's chilly for giveaways tonight. Apparently.
Yeah. But the one thing I will say, obviously, people come to ask about Quinn Hughes. Other than him jet setting around the East Coast, going to like white parties, and which was at that Michael Rubin, that's like the party to go to out in the Hamptons, and the Fanatics party, and the World Cup, and the ESPYs, and all that stuff. There really is nothing going on right now in terms of negotiations. Slow. The Wild are still convinced and confident they're going to sign him, but right now, nothing imminent.
Did you think that was her question?
No, but I just figured I might as well get that out of the way now, and maybe we won't get any questions about it. All right.
I wouldn't bet on that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about the process in selecting the captain. And like what the players' input can and cannot be. Do they even consult with them? Or like when Kirill got the A, did they consult with Spurge on that?
I don't think so. I think, every team has different methods to how they pick their captain. In Wild history, there have been 2 full-time captains, and they were chosen by management in consultation with the coach. Bill Guerin chose Jared Spurgeon at the time. I think he knew it was probably the beginning of the end of the Parise and Suter era. The first, when Bill Guerin came to Minnesota, his first act of business was to sign Jared Spurgeon at that point to the highest AAV in Minnesota Wild history. I don't think it was any coincidence. It was about 20 grand higher than Parisi and Suter. And it was his decision to make Jared the captain. So that's how they do it here. Other teams do have votes inside the locker room, but that's not how the Wild have done it. When Mikko Koivu was named captain, I remember we were at Parade Ice Garden. I can't remember if it was a surprise or not, but that was, again, a Doug Risebrough. No, sorry, would that have been Doug? It was Doug at the time, and Jacques at the time coming up with that. So.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
We're all
I
very
appreciate
happy
that.
for him. I know Margot's happy.
Margot's happy.
Yeah. All right. Question.
Hey, I think you've both said to some degree in the past that due to your jobs, you're not fans of the Wild. Your jobs make it so that you can't really be a true fan. But I kind of call BS on that. I think you have to be fans on some level, given how much time and all the relationships you have with the team. How would you describe your fandom versus your profession?
Well,
It's definitely different for both of us.
yeah, for sure we're different. And where I say I'm not a fan is that, like, I don't lose any sleep when they lose. And the guy back here in the back, I coached high school football with for 15 years, I think. When we lost a game, it bugged me for a long time. When the Wild lose, you get on the bus and you're going to the next city, and I hope every time when we get to the rink, it's 4-3 in overtime, and I really don't. I'd love the Wild to win more than they lose, just because then they're more fun to be around. But I don't have anything to do with whether they win or lose. So it's a different feel, you know. It's not. Yeah, I mean, the games are more fun when they're like. I would hate to, if they were 20-60, it wouldn't be any fun. But Tom Kervers actually said it great when I was talking to him one night. He was the Wild's assistant GM, who's passed away now, but he was, when he got done playing, he was working in Arizona, and he was working on the broadcasts. And he said he only did it for 1 year. And when we travel, there's always two buses. There's a player's bus, and then there's a staff and media bus. So I'm on the bus with the trainers and the coaches. But Kervers said, I got on that bus after a playoff game one night, and I just sat there and I thought, I want to be on that bus. I want to be on the bus that cares whether we won or lost tonight, not how good the broadcast was. And there's just a difference. Like if we went to the games every night and there was some kind of competition, like the Wild broadcast against the Blues broadcast, it would be different. But now we're just focused on trying to put the best show together. And I'd love to see them have success, but I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have any impact on whether they win or lose. So that's, I think, where I don't know if that makes sense, where it's, I mean, I'm not really a fan where, like, I'm not depressed when they lose. I get on the bus and we head to the next city.
You know, it is interesting just listening to that. Like, I probably have more trouble sleeping when they lose, but it's more because I'm thinking about, all right, how do I advance the narrative the next day? What am I writing about the next day? I'm scrolling. I know you don't do it, but I'm scrolling X. I'm seeing the fans and things they're saying. Seeing, things that they're talking about that I didn't even touch on in the article. So I'm thinking, oh, that was a mistake. Got to hit on that tomorrow. But in terms of fandom, like obviously, especially when you're at The Athletic, you want people to subscribe, and an exciting team with lots of storylines gets people to read. There's more, your stories aren't riddled with graffiti from angry fans if they win. There's more people caring. When they traded for Quinn Hughes, we felt it at The Athletic on making it an exciting thing. So I'm 100% not a fan. Like I've been a sports writer literally since I was 14, 15 years old. So I've lost, I was a fan of like one team when I was a kid, the Montreal Expos, but as a sports writer, you learned that you got to be objective, and you're not thinking of it in that way. Like it's hard for me to actually relate to fans that come in here wearing Quinnesota t-shirts and depth t-shirts, which I think actually is a thing that happened with me. I should get a piece of that depth t-shirt actually. Like these I should have gotten some money from that. So like I like it's just not the way that you're kind of you're bred when you're in on this side of the table. But like look, it's stressful when they lose, like I found out today dealing with something that a player is just pissed off with me about something and didn't know it, assumed it, had to deal with it. Actually, I haven't dealt with it yet, but I will. But stuff like that, like so the stuff that I'm dealing with is very just different than the average fan cares about. And
I will say that I prefer they win because when they lose, then every mention on Twitter is that you're terrible, you suck. Why won't you say the Wild suck? You're a typical homer. And I'm like, look, I did the same thing I did last night when they won. And last night, everybody thought it was the greatest broadcast on the planet. And so for that reason, I guess I'd prefer they win. But
plus, you jinx them all the time
exactly.
with every time you say shutout.
No, but they're all like everybody's more fun to be around when they're winning, and I see how hard they work, the coaches and everything. So I'd prefer they have success, but I'm not wearing a Wild sweater to a game. I'm not painting my face when I'm watching the game at home. It just doesn't. I watch the game. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
the outcome doesn't matter as much to me.
Are we making sense? We're rambling now. Yeah. Like, what's the reason for the question? Is it?
I guess I find it hard to believe being so close to a team and caring about all the storylines and knowing so much and knowing everybody that to be able to say I'm completely neutral sounds like a goal, not a reality. But anyway.
Well, and I wouldn't say neutral is, I'd prefer that the Wild win. So it's not really neutral, but we try to be honest on the broadcast. But we're not going to bury a guy really on either side.
But I think there's a difference of being a fan of a team and also like knowing John Hines and hoping the best for him and hoping that there is I'm happy for these players when they're playing well, when they're scoring a big goal and things like that. But to Anthony's point, you might, if they ever win a cup, get a ring. But for me, I'm not. To me, if they win a cup, my life continues the same. Only I get to write about really cool parades and off-season stuff. It's that simple. So I don't know. It's hard to explain, but certainly you wish the best for these guys. You do know them, but also you get desensitized when you've been in this business as long as both of us have. I've outlasted every player, coach, owner, GM I've ever covered. Good people I'm tight with get fired all the time, and it just life goes on. That's just the way it is. It's kind of a after a loss, Dylan, who covers the Wild for the Hockey News, will be in the elevator and we're just laughing like nothing happened. It's just that's the world we live in. So
you've heard me talk about the Onyx Hunt app on here for years. Well, make sure you download the Onyx Fish app as well, because before you even pull the boat out of the garage, you can sort lakes by species, trophy potential, and keeper potential, so you're not just guessing and you're going out with a plan. You could also use the Onyx Fish app to filter walleye, bass, panfish, whatever you're chasing, and see species abundance and size data so you actually know what's in the lake before you launch. Everything you need to get there and get on fish is all in one app. Boat ramps, lake access points, public versus private land, points of interest like bait shops and camping. It's all built into the app. No more scrambling around 3 different apps or outdated reports. Onyx Fish gives you the proven fishing area data and local insights that used to take years to learn. So you could do a decade of knowledge all in about 10 minutes. So download Onyx Fish on the App Store or visit onyxmaps.com/fish. Spring fishing is here. Go find a lake you've been driving past for years and finally find out if it's worth the launch.
I've talked about Lucy before because my friends keep telling me it's their new go-to pouch. Well, here's the update. Now it's even easier to try because you can grab Lucy at Quick Trip. A bunch of them have tried them all, and now Lucy is their new go-to. They call them top-notch lip pillows, and honestly, they say it's the best pouch experience they've ever had. The flavors are strong and actually last. Mint, apple ice, mango, espresso, berry citrus, and apple cider. Not sure where to start? Grab the 6-pack and try them all. And the real difference is Lucy Breakers. Each pouch has a little breaker ball inside. Bite it, and you get an extra burst of flavor with a smooth nicotine kick that lasts longer. Lucy is smooth, long-lasting, and doesn't dry out. Give them a try. Get 20% off your first order when you buy online at lucy.co/worstseats with promo code worstseats. That's lucy.co/worstseats with promo code worstseats. And if you don't want to wait, check out their store locator to find where you can pick up Lucy at your nearest Quick Trip today. Here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every customer is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
I didn't mean to make fun of your Quinnesota shirt, by the way. Yeah.
I like my
Nice
shirt. Thanks. I was listening to a different podcast on the way here, and I will leave them unnamed. But they were talking about the top line in favor of front loading the top line with Boldy and Eck and Kaprizov. And I was wondering what your take was on going that direction.
I don't think you can win doing that. Not long term. I mean, within a game, there's times for it. Even a couple weeks here and there where they can do it. I don't think you can win long term loading up one line like that. If you look at the teams, especially in the West, that have won, they very rarely structure their lineups that way. And a lot of teams will go with like sets of 2, but they just you become too easy to defend if all your scoring comes from one line. In my opinion,
I was surprised that they were talking, that they were in favor of it.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Which podcast? I'll tell you if I respect it or not.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Lockdown Wild.
Lockdown Wild.
Today's
I have no
episode.
idea.
Okay. I mean, look, I think that to Anthony's point, I think there's definitely going to be times during the game and things like that. But a lot of it is all going to depend on how good Shabanov is, how good, they're going to need some players to step up this year. They've lost a lot of offense within those 3 guys that they lost in Zuccarello and Tarasenko and Johansson. And they're going to need these guys, Coleman to score the 30 that he's scored in the past. And they're going to need Ryan Hartman to have a big year and Eriksson Ek to be healthy and this Shabanov kid to, he's not somebody that can come here and just play the third line. Like he is somebody, like if I was John Hines, I would give him every opportunity in camp to play with Boldy and or Kaprizov because he's a skilled player and you put him on a third line and it's just not, you're going to, exactly what happened with the Islanders last year is going to happen with him here. Like, there's certain players that you got to put them in that position. So if all of a sudden a Shabanov has a big year and looks like he's a player, that allows him to put Boldy in a position where he could play on that top line because you have a scorer on your second line or vice versa. So that's how I feel.
It's a little different when you're home and road too. When you're on the road, you become much more easy to match up against if you put all those guys together. Now every shift they play is going to be against the top defensive pair. It's going to be against the best checking line, where if you split them up, you force the other team to make a choice and defend one or the other, but not both.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Any others? Any
Nope.
other questions?
Nope, that was it. Thank
Grab,
you.
some merch.
Hello.
What's up?
Question. So I had a bit of a drive today, and I was kind of thinking the past
What
players,
podcast were you listening to on that drive?
Serious. But anyway, so I was thinking about like centers from the past, and Eric Stahl came to mind, Koivu. Like, we were like 8 years away from those guys being right now. Like, Stelzy was like a 3.5. Koivu was, affordable. How much of those guys, or which one do you think would have been a better fit right now? Like Stelzy with the scoring?
If we had them right now, like in their prime, I'd take Eric Stahl on this team because Eriksson Ek to me he's got some similarities to Mikko's game where what they're lacking is Eric Stahl.
Yeah, I felt the same. Like there's 40 goals be on that first line right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric had a a really good career here, especially his first year, obviously, when he scored 42 and went to the All-Star game in Tampa and all that stuff. And I think that Eric Snack is right up there with what Mikko could do. I think Mikko defends in a much different type of way, in a grittier way, where Eric Snack at the net front is a goal scorer. But to Anthony's point, I just think that they're so similar to Mikko and Eric Snack that Eric Stahl having that type of goal scoring prowess would be huge.
Yeah. So quick part 2. So I played beer league for a bit, coached kids. My son played travel. Some players are really stinky. Who walks by and just like makes your eyes water?
What's the question?
Who smells?
Who smells the
Who
worst?
smells?
Like somebody skates by, walks by, and you're just like,
Well, Brad Hunt didn't wear socks, and nobody wanted to be on his side of the locker room. I remember it might have been Stalock. I remember in Anaheim once going over to Stalock's stall.
goalies are bad. Yeah.
And it was after a game where Alex was unbelievable in Anaheim, and I couldn't breathe. I was so sick. And I'm like, what is going on over here to Alex? And Alex just goes like this, and it was Brad Hunt. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And I love Brad Hunt, but, man, wear some socks. So.
With Babcock in Edmonton, who's gone first, him or McDavid?
Ooh, that's actually a good question.
That is a great question. I would say McDavid.
Yeah, possibly. Although, I mean,
McDavid's got, 2 years left on his deal?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and, without an extension, McDavid probably is the more likely choice. I don't think Babcock will be there past this McDavid contract.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Everything depends on McDavid on what happens these next 2 years. Like they've got to show that they can, it's hard to say take a step for a team that was in the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row, but clearly there's a reason why he signed a 2-year contract. And I think that he wants to win. This was a lot of the reason why Babcock is hired there is because McDavid, Draisaitl, Zach Hyman gave the green light. Zach Hyman obviously flourished under Babcock in Toronto. So it'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see what happens in LA too with Peter Laviolette. I did a podcast, Kings podcast today, and we were talking a lot about Zuccarello and whether it's going to work with Fiala, because Fiala has not been very good in LA. Who's going to be the center on the line? Could it be, will Zuccarello wind up with Panarin? It's going to be.
Zuccarello and Fiala didn't really mesh here.
They didn't. And they never played even strength together, really ever. Because, Zuki, the second that he became healthy that first year with Kirill, he was put with Kirill. Remember, like the first month of that season, Zuccarello was coming off maybe elbow surgery or something. And so he didn't play with Kirill that first 3 weeks. So then obviously he debuted and they were inseparable. So
I think what's interesting about your question though is that the role the players played in either selecting or allowing Babcock to be selected, it'll be an interesting dynamic to see how that works because he's such a my way or the highway disciplinarian type guy. Well, what happens when things start to go poorly? These guys have never been quite, they play 23 minutes a night. What happens when the first time that power play happens late in the game and they're not on the ice? Are they still going to feel like the disciplinarian guy is the right guy? I think it's going to be a strange dynamic and something interesting to watch.
Feel free to come on up and get online for questions. I do want to talk to you, remind me before we leave about the schedule and back-to-back games and some of the numbers that we saw this year on just how this week on how the schedule is put together in the National Hockey League. Question.
So with the season, the off-season signings, what teams do you think are more of a contender versus they've kind of downgraded? I
personally think Utah.
Yeah, in the West, Utah, I think, made the biggest steps forward for sure. And they weren't that far off to start with. I mean, I think Colorado, Vegas, Dallas are still contenders in the West, but I wouldn't say any of them necessarily got better. I think Utah is the one in the West that, LA probably got better. Calgary, I think, is still getting better, but has a ways to go.
I think in the East, Florida, made some really good moves this offseason. They obviously changed the goaltending, so that'll be interesting. I think Devils have made some interesting moves this offseason. Toronto, they can only go up. So all the new GMs have sort of put their fingerprints on their teams. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting year, which is also why I wanted to talk to you about the schedule. Montreal is another team I think have made some pretty interesting moves. Like I thought they'd be a little more aggressive, but we'll see. So, yeah. Question. I always get worried when somebody comes up here with a phone, like a list.
I just don't want to screw this up. Yeah. All right.
Just get a little closer to the mic.
Nice to see you guys. The Wild seem to be at their peak with talent and culture in the last 10 years or so. Like this is what our peak has been in the last 10 years. What can the Wild do to ensure these next few years that we build off this momentum and don't fall into the same trap of just being a playoff team and being one and done like we were during the Parisi and Suter era? Like the Parisi and Suter era, we made it the second round, got knocked out, and then, that's what it was for the last 10 years. And now we seem to be at our peak. What can we do to ensure that we build off this momentum and just don't fall into the same trap?
If we have the answer, we'll text Bill Guerin, and I think he'd love to hear it. But I think that it's the stars that they have right now are different than what they had during the Parisi Suter era. They had a lot of really good players during that era, and I'd say Parisi and Suter were stars, but they weren't superstars. They weren't guys who dominated games. They were just guys who found ways to win, wore you out. Now they're superstars. There was no Kirill Kaprizov on those teams. There was no Matt Boldy. There was no Quinn Hughes. So they've got a chance because they have game breakers now that they never had during that time. But I think in order to make sure that this isn't the peak, because all it is a trip to the second round so far, it's more on the development of those players. Like Boldy has to evolve into one of the top, what would you say, 5 wingers in the league. Kaprizov he's got to be 100+ point guy every year. Brock Faber's got to turn into the premier shutdown type defender. If those guys continue to make those steps, that's what makes this not be the peak right now.
I do think that they do. I know this is a broken record, but they are a center away. Like if they could figure out a way to get Dylan Larkin or hope that, at some point, and Austin Matthews becomes available, and Matthew Barzal. I mean, these are all different types of guys, and you can't pick and choose. It's got to be who's available at that time. That would allow this team to really get over the hump and be able to compete with the Colorados of the world and the Vegases and these. Like I just think that you have to have a real top upper echelon center in today's game to really help you. And I think that's why people are talking about loading up the first line, because I think people are worried about the depth right now of this team in the bottom 9. So that's part of it. The problem is that right now it hasn't happened. It's quiet now. Detroit doesn't even have a GM, so it's definitely going to be at a standstill even further for that. So that to me would be the one thing to get this team, quote unquote, now over the hump. They took a huge step this past season. I do think like the special teams in the playoffs has been a huge, huge problem. And the one thing that Bill Guerin's done in these moves that he made this offseason is they should be better on the penalty kill. Like they've really shaken the trees in that perspective. Blake Coleman is an elite penalty killer. Oli Mata it should be better than Jake Middleton, at least at that perspective. So that would be one area where I think that they've got to get better, because their penalty kill, it's just been abominable the last 3 postseasons that they've been in. So,
and then I guess my other question is I know you were talking about debating the 1v8 playoff format, bringing it back. I totally agree with you. Why do you think the league hasn't brought the 1v8 back? Because you had much more competition when it's 1v8. The last few years, it's been like Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Vegas. There's not much disparity between the teams, but 1v8 had a lot more Cinderella.
I do think that the dirty little secret Gary Bettman said out loud at the GM's meetings, and that's that they feel they have the longest and most competitive early rounds in the National Hockey League, and that's where the most eyeballs are on it. The only thing is that this year it was not like that. They really had uncompelling early rounds and uncompelling late rounds in terms of 7-game series and things like that. So we'll see if that changes it up. The only thing I could tell you is that it really is one person that's making this decision. Like if you talk to anybody in the league offices, most GMs, they don't like this, but this is Gary's thing. I love Gary Bettman, believe it or not. I know that a lot of people do call me an apologist for him, but he's an extremely stubborn person. And when he digs his heels into something, that's the way he's just going to be. And this is his thing. And he's so far not willing to sort of relent, even though it seems like the fans want it, and every broadcaster but one.
Absolutely.
Yep. I like the current system. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah.
I got to disagree there, but I respect your opinion.
All right.
And then I guess
Wow, that's so unlike today's world. You're not supposed to disagree and respect. You're supposed to,
this is my
tear his
favorite
head
guy.
off.
This is my favorite guy we've ever had on the show right
I know.
now.
So
I guess my other question is that do you feel like these and I know we're dealing with this with Larkin a little bit because he has 3 or 4 teams. Do you feel like these no trade clauses are going to create a problem in the league with players only wanting to go to a few teams based on states with no income tax or teams that are always competitive where 6 or 7 teams might get all the free agent players and.
Well, definitely the players have more control than they've ever had. I think the one thing that Dylan Larkin is showing is that it's not necessarily just has to be income tax. He wants to win. And that's why he has Minnesota on the list. I mean, you seem young, but I mean, those of us that have a steady paycheck know that in the state of Minnesota, you lose a lot of taxes. Usually 8-9% of your taxes compared to Tennessee and Texas and Florida and Washington and Nevada. And so the fact that he has Minnesota up there shows you what his priority is. And we're seeing that now more and more and more, that players want to go where they can win and not see their careers evaporate. I do think that I think we're going to see in the next collective bargaining agreement that there's going to be, or language put into now no move and no trade clauses, that if we'll give you the no move and the no trade, but if you come to us and want to no trade, there's got to be a way of at least expanding the list, or giving us an outlet and not, look at Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk put them in a position where he gave them a quote unquote short list, but it was really one on that list.
Yeah, I think the answer to the question is yes, because I think it's already hurting the league.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
This is what teams have chosen to agree to get players to sign. It's a leverage thing in a contract negotiation. And if you got a player that says, all right, I'll take $9 million instead of 10 as long as I get a no move clause, that it's teams gave in and gave it to them. And I think until teams stop, they're going to continue putting themselves in tough spots.
What's really fascinating about the whole no trade thing is that it was originally put into contracts as a way to, all right, we'll give you a no trade, but you're going to, give us a $400,000, $500,000 discount. Now teams are giving out mega money because the cap is going up, but there's still there's been no give back in terms of what the no trade and the no move is. So this is going to be a huge topic, I think, at the GM's meetings coming up here in November, and then the big one in March that I always go to. And then I think that when the next collective agreement is up, I bet you this is something the league is going to want to kind of, be tasked to at least tweak. But in the meantime, you can put language in contracts to change this. So I think we're going to start to see that. The Wild just did the thing with McCarron where they gave him a no move, but if there is an expansion in a couple of years, he's got no protection. So there's ways to finagle language.
You can write whatever you want in the contract as long as both sides agree.
Yep, exactly.
What do you mean by expansion? Like the league?
There's going to be expansion. So if you have a no move clause in your contract, a full no move, not no trade, not modified no trade, a full no move, that means that if there's expansion in 3 years, you have to be protected in your expansion list. Where, in Michael McCarron's case, if there's expansion in the next 3 years, if Houston or Austin come into the league, his no move will not protect him in expansion. He can be exposed in expansion.
Are they looking to expand? Because
Oh,
32
yeah.
seems like a good number. That's what the NFL
Yeah,
is.
no, there's going to be 34 and maybe even 36 eventually. It's all about money. We're talking like billions of dollars in expansion fees. So, that's divided amongst the 32 teams. So, yeah, there's going to be, get ready. It's going to be harder for the Wild to make the playoffs, especially in this, in this system that Anthony loves.
Yeah, I do.
So,
Yep, it'll be great. They'll be playing against their division rivals in the
you
playoffs.
just want to start playing golf in May. We know it's going on.
Well, I appreciate you answering my questions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Grab a hat.
Yep.
Yep. Nice meeting you. Yep.
Okay.
Dylan's girlfriend. You knew I had to say that. First of all, what questions could you possibly have when you're dating a Wild beat writer? He must be the worst beat writer in the world.
Yeah.
You can't just ask him.
I just wanted to know, do you know why Tarasenko hasn't signed anywhere yet? And do you think the Wild would ever sign him?
I don't think they'll come back. To me, the only way they would circle back on him is if somebody got hurt in camp, things like that. I think it's money. I think when he fired his agent, he hired a new one. It was for money, and now I think he's probably been humbled a little bit. Anthony, I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I'd never say never, but it's clearly not the Wild's choice to bring him back, or preference to bring him back. But you never know if a deal gets made to acquire some other kind of top six forward and multiple players have to be moved to make room for that, then you never know. Anything can change.
Absolutely. And the other thing with Tarasenko is he had a decent year. 23 goals. I know he caught fire at the end of the year. He was a good influence on guys like Yurov. He scored a huge goal in Game 6, right? Wasn't that the game that they won it all, advanced?
Yeah.
And he scored that.
He did.
But I think he's not somebody that's willing to take a discount, and I think it's caught him, and probably, I don't know. Unless he knows what's going on or his options or stuff that he doesn't want to jump on right away, I'm sure he's getting a little nervous. So I don't know. I would consider bringing him back the way their depth is right now, but I don't think that's something that's right on the table.
All right. Thank
That
you.
can't be your only question.
Yeah, it is.
So, yep. Grab a hat if you want.
Do you see the league adjusting the entry-level contracts so they don't get stuck in another Leo Carlson situation, and also performance bonuses to like LA used to circumvent the cap this year?
I don't see to me, what this is just going to do is it's going to make you realize that you got to sign your guys early. In January, they could have easily signed Leo Carlson and Cutter Gauthier to extensions, didn't think that they were exposing themselves to offer sheets, and wound up very wrong.
Anaheim tried to get Carlson signed though, but they were what I had heard about it was that the number was way too low, and therefore Leo just decided to wait. But and then the incentive part. That's only for veterans. Those are the only guys you can sign that to, and you kind of circumvent the cap, but you pay the price the next year anyway.
Yeah.
So you do pay it.
But to your point, usually bonuses are reasonable.
Right.
To give a guy a $4 million, a $5 million, what is the
I think
bonus for
it was
Zuccarello? If he plays 10 games,
Right.
come on, it's stupid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that's something that'll be a front burner for the NHL on that one. So.
Hey, it's Russo for Aquarius Home Services. Yes, we all love summer. That is until your air conditioner decides it wants to take the summer off. If your AC is running nonstop, blowing warm air, or making sounds that definitely weren't in the owner's manual, now's the time to do something about it. Whether it's a $79 AC tune-up, a repair to get you up and running, or it's finally time to trade in and trade up to a new cooling system, Aquarius has you covered. And right now, when you upgrade, you'll get an additional $500 off on top of their summer sale pricing. We're talking savings of up to $3,500 total on a new heating and cooling system, because nobody wants to spend the summer wondering if tonight's the night the AC finally gives in. Stay cool, comfortable, and ready for whatever summer throws your way with a reliable, energy-efficient cooling system from Aquarius. Schedule your appointment today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. And don't forget to tell them Russo sent you. Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We could switch on the lights. We switch TV channels. Some of us even switch our favorite sports teams. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you could switch and save with Tony Hoagland State Farm. In fact, State Farm agent Tony Hoagland and his team can switch you over so you can start saving today. If you thought your last homeowner's insurance renewal was really high, or it's been a while since you reviewed your coverages, Tony and his team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. With Tony and his team, it's easy to switch and save. You can reach out to Tony's office at 763-421-4900 to start saving today. Again, that's 763-421-4900.
Question.
I got a question about John Hines. I believe his contract's ending at the end of next year. I know him and Billy's relationship is pretty good right now just because of USA and all that, but I just want your thoughts on him coming back or even, going somewhere else or getting fired.
I don't have any inside information to this. I'd be surprised if he didn't get some kind of an extension before this season, just so he's not going into the year as his last year. I don't see the Wild making a change behind the bench anytime soon.
Yeah. I've talked to, I talked to Billy today for a while, actually. I know they've had conversations. I think that they believe it's going to get done before the season. Mid-August, they always have their retreats up at Craig Leopold's home in Wisconsin. So that seems like a good time to get it done. So I don't think that you want a coach going into the last year of his deal because then he just feels like he's, sort of a lame duck. We saw that with Bruce Boudreau. That year that Bruce was fired here, it was just a constant nervousness on the coaches.
It's hard to coach in that spot when the players in the back of their mind are saying, like, you might not be here next year anyway.
That's how I was with Anthony all year long. I'm like,
right. Yeah. Yep.
FanDuel doesn't even exist.
Every podcast, just thinking, I don't have to listen to this guy.
Yeah. FanDuel doesn't even exist. I had them come up with
But you got kicked off FanDuel long before I did.
That's true. But that's because I trashed their app, which apparently wasn't good for job security. But I came up with the stress relief pucks because of you. And now we're going to have to put in a triple order. So, question. You kind of look like a mix between Paul Martin and Mark Parrish, doesn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Definitely Paul Martin.
Yep.
I was wondering, I feel like for a long time we've had sort of a reputation as a defensive team and just kind of where that comes from and if you feel like things might be shifting with Kirill Kaprizov, Boldy, as we move to more like superstardom, as you said up front.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reputation of it goes all the way back to the beginning where they had to play that way to compete because they didn't have the skill some of the other teams had right from the beginning. And then it just kind of, sometimes teams just are drawn to the same type of player, and then you start to find the player that fits what you have already. So, yep, we play this way, that guy fits, that guy doesn't. And sometimes I think teams fall into that. But right now, I think it changed a little bit during Bruce and then into Dean's era where for a while they played a little bit more of a fast-paced, we can outscore you too kind of style. But I think it always comes back to if you want to win at the end of the year, you have to be able to defend, and that's where the Wild have always fallen is we have to be able to play with structure, have to be able to defend if we have thoughts of making a run in the playoffs.
Yeah. And we saw even the last couple of years, like teams like Florida and Colorado, as offensive they were as good as anybody defensively. I still think that's how you win in most cases. Every coach is going to pull back on the reins when things get a little loose. But the one thing that this team has that other teams haven't had is pure skill. Matt Boldy is already maybe a top 20 player in the league easily, I would think. Kirill. So when you have those type of guys, you got to give them free rein. Look at Quinn Hughes. His game is holding the puck, making plays. That's how he defends. So when you have these type of superstars on your team, I definitely think that you have to become more of a North type team and score. And I think we're seeing that the last 3 years. The Wild had the third best power play in the league last year.
Do you think that'll change with Zuccarello being gone?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Their power play numbers actually were just as good whether he was in the lineup or not.
I mean,
And
just with that playoff series, it didn't feel like.
Yeah, no, it didn't feel. I don't think it felt like it throughout the season. And part of it was the numbers were a hair misleading because they got off to a great start on the power play when he was hurt, and Tarasenko took his spot, and the power play was very good when he came back. They couldn't maintain it, but nobody was going to maintain those numbers.
I wonder who's going to, if let's just say this is the opening night roster and Larkin's not here. I wonder who takes Zuccarello's spot on that power play. Like it really is interesting. Like, suddenly there's not a guaranteed guy that you're putting.
No, not really.
Heck, it might be McCarron. Just win some draws and I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yep. What's up?
Can you talk?
Kind of look like Oli Mata.
Hey, so I'm going to ask a question about Oli Mata.
Nice.
So the Middleton deal, Coleman seems like the focal piece of that deal, but it's 2-for-1, and you get Mata back.
And he's got term on his deal.
He's got 2 years.
Yep.
So what's the perspective on Mata as a replacement for Middleton, lower four defenseman?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm giving away trade secrets by saying I talked to Billy today, but when I was talking to Billy today, I was just shooting the breeze with him for a while while I was getting my car fixed, and he's really excited about Mata. He just thinks that Mata is just right now going to be somebody that could fit in right away, help their penalty kill. He's had a couple tough years. We talked about it on a recent podcast where I haven't been the biggest fan of his. But he went to Calgary after the trade deadline and was just such a better player than he was in Utah. And he's just, he's a proven winner. He's played for a long, long time. He's not the fleetest of foot, but he could defend. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, I think they're different players. He won't bring the energy that Jake Middleton brought. Doesn't have the personality, at least from what I've told from the outside. But I think he can defend, and if you're asking him to be a third pair steady defender, he can be that. And Middleton to me always seemed like his game was better when he played more minutes, but the team needed him to play fewer minutes for the team to be better, if that makes sense. And Mata, I think, will be a guy who thrives more where he's a penalty kill guy, a third pair guy, and probably fits better there.
We'll have to get you a hat. Apparently we're out. Alex.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well said, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay.
So I'll crack the seal on the Hughes conversation. So as we go throughout the year, and if there's no deal before the season starts, I know the Hughes camp wants to play ball, but obviously you've got Jack and Luke out east. How long do the Wild go, and are they willing to get out of Hughes ahead of the trade deadline to get something for him if they don't have a deal done by then?
I mean, again, the only thing I'll tell you is the Wild continue to say this is not something that is. They understand why the fans are worried. They're understanding why they're asking questions, but they are, they're not worried. They still think they'll get them done before the season and all that stuff. But to your point, for what they gave up for him, they're going to have to trade him. I mean, the one thing about Quinn is he's going to let them know. He's not going to, play games and pretend that he's going to sign here and then suddenly not, and now you're going to lose him for nothing. I think Quinn is so shrewd and so aware of what the Wild gave up for him that I think he'd have more respect for Bill Guerin to do that. I still think he's going to sign for 3 years. I think it's complicated right now. For myriad reasons. One, there's no, his agent is he's trying to get Celebrini signed. He's dealing with the Dylan Larkin situation. He's got Patrick Kane on sign. He's busy. Billy's been, not that he can't multitask, but he's been taking a little breather right now. It's not something it's not something that's just immediately on the front burner that they got to get done this second. There's plenty of offseason left. There's 2 months. They'll get it done. The other reason is the cap situation is completely out of whack right now with with Carlson's deal, with Bedard just getting done. The fact that these two guys in Makar and Hughes are defensemen that are going to restructure that market, so they're trying to come up with that. You have the signing bonus issue, which the Wild had never done. You know that Quinn's going to want major signing bonuses like Kirill. And imagine now, like if you're Craig Leopold and every July 1, you got to give Kirill 18 million, and now you're going to have to give Quinn 15, 16, 17 million and sign. Like it's a lot of money. So these are just complicated deals. And so I still think it's getting done. It's going to be a 3-year deal. They'll align themselves with Jack, and then get a major contract in a couple of years. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
But to your point, if it doesn't, they're going to have to.
If he doesn't sign an extension, they will have to move him before the deadline.
Yeah,
and I think both sides know that.
Yeah. So sorry, we're out of hats. Apparently, you have to come back. We'll have to get you on. Any other questions? Come on up. But I did want to talk to you about Anthony, about just the way that the NHL schedule is done. And, I still feel like this is amazingly archaic. It's literally a guy that does the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not easy when you have 32 teams, and to one of the questions earlier with expansion, it's only going to get tougher and tougher and tougher. But the back-to-backs are...
Yeah, that's crazy to me. And
like Montreal...
They played 19 times, I think, against tired teams when they're rested, meaning that the other team played the night before and Montreal did not.
And Toronto in their same division play 5.
Right. And there's a way to do it. They've got the schedule balanced now, and that you can make it work. Everybody plays 4 in their division, everybody plays 2 home, 2 away. You can make all those things be even. But how you can't look at it and say the teams in the East could play more back-to-backs than teams in the West, it doesn't matter because you're not compared against them when it comes time to hand out playoff spots. But when the teams in the West are, and teams within your division are, and the travel in the East is different. So who cares if the teams in the East all play 12 back-to-backs or 14 if the teams in the West play 8, but you shouldn't have teams in the same division be that far apart.
It's crazy.
But if you look at the difference between the number of times that you have the edge by being rested and playing a tired team compared to the reverse, Montreal's like a plus 14, I think. I think they only have 5 times where they're the tired team and the other team is rested. And I don't know how you look at a schedule and can end up with a difference that's that wide and say, yep, that's fair for everybody.
And I guarantee you, the schedule maker didn't realize this, and the league didn't realize this, and that's unconscionable. And there's no way the league could look at those numbers now and say that this should continue. It's ridiculous. You know what I found also weird is that usually Winnipeg and Minnesota, they kind of alternate on who benefits from that. The 2 lowest in the NHL are Minnesota and Winnipeg. Winnipeg plays a tired team 5 times and Minnesota 7. And conversely, everybody else in the Wild's division and Winnipeg's division play a lot more against tired. That is huge.
But Minnesota's about even with the number of back-to-backs they have compared to the time.
Yeah, the Wild only have 10 back-to-backs all year.
And I think a couple of them might be against the team having a back-to-back, because I think their difference was only 1, if I remember right. But it just, to me, you have to be able to get those things close. And it was a couple of years ago, we had looked at over a 2-year span, the Wild had played like, I'm going to have the numbers wrong now, but they had played like 22 back-to-backs where Winnipeg had played 8 or something like that. And that just doesn't, I don't understand how guys can look at a schedule and say, when you're comparing the teams in the division, we've got to make it be, if it's off by 1 or 2 because of arena conflicts, that's different. But to be off by this much makes no sense.
Absolutely. Do you watch World Cup?
I watched a little bit of it. I saw the extra session of the final.
Like, I know Messi is a legend, but have you watched how much he just walks on the field for 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Plus 90, 120.
We joke about this sometimes that how you watch
I said
forever.
to Garen today, he reminds me of Ovi on a power play.
But they had 0 shots.
Yeah.
Not shots that had to be saved. Like, they didn't even have an attempt through the entire first 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. it just, I don't know. I was just blown away by watching Messi.
But it was
just walk
fun.
around.
I think we talked about this a little on our last show. When we were in France at the tail end of our trip, to be over there while France was making their run was exciting, and to sit and watch some of the games at local bars and stuff there, that was fun. And as little as I pay attention to soccer, to watch it with people that are that passionate about it was fun.
Absolutely. And Spain was just, I mean, what a dominant performance in the entire World Cup. They gave up 1 goal, didn't trail once.
And I think the only goal they gave up was like in the final minute or something against Belgium. The only reason I know is because I had made a bet when the game started that I said, I'll bet you a beer that Belgium doesn't score in this game.
Yeah.
And they scored, not meaningless, but they scored a goal that didn't matter because they were out of the game anyway in the final, I think, 2 minutes of the game. And that's the only goal Spain gave up the whole tournament.
Yeah. It reminds me of Danny Heatley scored a goal with I think 20 seconds left in Montreal once, and to turn a 6-1 loss into a 6-2 loss or something. And I called it a garbage goal in print. And we get to Ottawa the next day and he goes, "What's a garbage goal?" And I'm like, "I don't know, the goal that you scored to make it 6-2 with 20 seconds." I wasn't going to back down. But that's kind of what I think that's what I call it, a garbage goal. But that would have been tragic if that game wound up in penalty kicks. Like, could you imagine if Argentina would have stolen that game because of penalty kicks in a game where they didn't have a freaking shot attempt and Messi was walking? Messi looked like he was like that song, like walking 500 miles. Like that's what he was doing the entire. I couldn't get over it. Like every time he never got back into the play. It was just crazy to me. I mean, I know that's like he's a legend, but my God, that was a bad look. Anybody have any other questions? Nothing? Who's coming to Croatia next year? We are.
I think the trip might be full.
Really?
Well, we had some friends who tried to sign up today and said they're on a waiting list. So
wow, there you go. All right, are you going to go to Ariana's place in St. Louis Park and get your charger so we can do a podcast next week?
That's right. I guess I do have to get it. I was thinking I'm still on vacation until September. I'll get a computer charger, so we'll be good to go.
Yeah. Thanks to our incredible sponsors, by the way. We're about to do a raffle here. Great Clips graciously is giving us a $350 gift card for one lucky person here to get haircuts for essentially a year. Some of us maybe that $350 would go a lifetime. So thanks to Great Clips, Aquarius Home Services, your local authorized dealer for Connecticut water treatment systems, Onyx Maps, Lucy Nicotine Patches, Great Clips, and State Farm with Tony Hoagland. Thanks everybody for coming on out to Elsie's.
So much coming out, there's nothing